Good morning to everyone. I'm Dr. Sumi MS. The topic of my today's presentation is State Machine Diagram from Unit 4 State Machine Design of Digital Logic Circuits and Design. On completion, the students will be able to describe about the state machine diagram and also explain the basic components and notations of a state machine diagram. A state machine diagram is used to represent the condition of the system or part of the system at finite instances of time. It is a behavioral diagram and it represents the behavior using finite state transitions. It is a UML diagram which is used to represent the condition of the system or part of the system at finite instances. It is a behavioral diagram and it represents the behavior under finite state transitions. So the state machine diagram is also called as state diagrams or state chart diagrams. It is used to model the dynamic behavior of a class in response to time and changing external stimuli. Every class has a state, but we don't model every class using state machine diagrams. So an example, here the state machine diagram above shows the different states in which the verification subsystem or class exists for a particular system. The basic components in a state machine diagram are, first we have the initial state. It is a black filled circle that represents the initial state of a system or a class. Then transition. A solid arrow is used to represent the transition or change of control from one state to another. So the arrow is labeled with the event causing change in that state. Then state. We use a rounded rectangle to represent a state. A state represents the condition or the circumstance of an object of a class at a particular instant of time. Then we have a fork, which is a rounded solid rectangular bar to represent a fork notation with incoming arrow from the parent state and outgoing arrow towards the newly created state. We use this fork notation to represent a state splitting into two or more concurrent states. Then join. We use a rounded solid rectangular bar to represent a join notation with incoming arrows from the joining state and outgoing arrow towards the common state. We use the join notation when two or more states concurrently converge into a single one. Self-transition. We use a solid arrow pointing back to the state itself to represent a self-transition. There might be scenarios when the state of the object does not change upon the occurrence of an event. In such cases, we use self-transition to represent. Composite state. This is a rounded rectangle to represent a composite state which has internal activities. Final state. We use a filled circle within a circle to represent the final state in a state machine diagram. Quiz questions on state machine diagram. Explain the basic components of a state machine diagram. Thank you.